Hey everybody, welcome to IA Command, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Season 6 Community Vote. So the Community Vote has gone live as of today, Monday, October 25th. We posted the link to the vote ballot, the Google ballot, in Zion's Finest Slack channel and the IACP Discord. And we're going to be putting up the article on the website, IACP website, today as well. 10:25, but I want to make this video so I can include the link to this video. I'm going to be just kind of doing an overview of the community vote for those that haven't done it before or aren't quite sure how it works. And I also want to kind of talk about the new system that's been put in place here with the triple voting options rather than just the binary approve, disapprove that we used to have. So let's kind of look at the ballot here, see what it looks like, what you'll see, and then I'll talk about how the percentages are going to work for the new system. Okay, so when you click on the link, it'll take you to this Google Sheet. You'll have to be logged in with a Gmail account to be able to vote. That's how we're going to be able to verify that everybody is voting just once, because it's only allowing one vote per email. And if we can't verify who you are through your email, we might have to toss your vote. So just be aware of that. We are going to be very vigilant about duplicate votes. So when we go through it, we start at the top here. It's going to start off, and I'm logged in with my YouTube account. That's my email if you ever need to email me. So that way I'm not looking at it through admin view. So as we start, it's going to have explanations for how everything is working. So the new system is, instead of just approve, disapprove, we now have two possible approval statuses and then a disapprove status. So full approval is the same as what approval used to mean, where the card is going to be fully added to IACP. It's going to have the approved label at the bottom, and it's not going to change in future seasons unless there's some kind of balance issue that requires us to make a change to the card in order to preserve the game's balance, like we did with Royal Guards and Knowledge and Defense back at the start of Season 4. Now there's also the probationary approval status. So if a card gets voted approved but doesn't get enough fully approved votes, it's going to be added on a probationary status. So that means that it will be playable in approved play tournaments and stuff like that. However, in future seasons, it's going to keep getting added to the community vote. So it has to keep getting approved each time until it either gets full approval or gets removed via disapproval. And also, any card that's on probation, it's going to be labeled with a symbol at the bottom that lets people know that it's not locked in, because that means the IACP Steering Committee can change probationary cards if we feel like we have a better version that we can make. The point of the probationary status is to allow cards that are not problematic to go through and get played while we maybe work on a better version in a future season, or just to give people more time and let the card settle so people who aren't sure about the card. And then, of course, disapprove status. So card needs 70% approval, either fully approved or partial approval, or some combination of those to get approved status. If more than 30% of the community votes to disapprove a card, it will be removed from the project. It won't be allowed in approved play going forward. We might come back with a new version in future seasons if we think we can make it work, but otherwise it will not be allowed in ICP play. So anyway, that's how the new system is going to work. You can see it has the voting rules here. Explains the ballot structure. I'm going to go over that with a chart just to make it easier to understand. Actually, maybe we can do that now. So I went ahead and made a pie chart to kind of show how this is going to work. So let's look at the three different options and see what exactly is going to happen to get it where it needs to be. So for a card to be fully approved, it has to have at least a combination of 70% or more approved or fully approved votes to get approved. And then to get fully approved, so let's kind of go down. Oh, you know what? This isn't gonna work. You know what? Let's just go through the ballot here. Because I forgot, there's one other thing. The next thing it's going to ask you, so there's going to be required questions when you do the ballot. And for this first section where it's kind of just explaining everything, something that we want to know from people is what already approved IACP cards from past seasons would you want to see revisited under this new voting system? Because in the past we've said that if a card is approved, we won't change it. But if the community is saying, hey, we actually do want you to change these old cards from early in the season that didn't quite make it or didn't quite do well, so we want you to put what cards you want changed. This is a required answer, but if you think that no, there aren't any approved cards that need to be revisited, you can just put none. And then if you think that approved cards should not be changed on principle, we're asking you to put NA. So that way we can read those opinions as well. So I'm just going to put a dash here. This is not going to be my official ballot for sure. All right, so now that once you get through that first part, it's going to start you voting on the cards. So here's the first one covering fire, and it's going to sort it by command cards and then by faction for deployment cards. And here's the three options you're going to see. You can either pick fully approve, approve on probation, or disapprove. So fully approve if you really think the card is good and fine and you think it probably shouldn't get changed unless something drastic comes up during the tournament season or future seasons, that isn't related to another new card being added that we can change. This is the option you want to pick. If you're not sure, but you think it's probably not a problem to have it be in tournament season, then you want to do approve on probation. This is an option that we've added. I think a lot of people who say, well, I don't want to vote on this card because I haven't gotten to play with it or play against it yet. This is probably a good option for you because this leaves it open to change. And then disapprove if you think a card should not be added in its current form. This is the one you want. This basically is banning. If you don't like a card and you don't want to see it being played in the future for ICP, this is the one you want to vote for. You do have to vote on every card. We are not letting people not vote. And the reason for that is just it makes it a lot easier for us to quickly count up all the votes and then do a percentage for each one, versus if we have people voting on random numbers, different numbers of total votes for each card. It makes things a lot more complicated trying to do all the percentages for each one and compare. And then at the end of the section, you'll be able to share your reasoning. That one is optional. So let's just go through it. I'm just doing this. I'm not actually going to vote like this on my ballot. And of course, all the steering committee members do get a ballot to vote. And we encourage everyone in the community to vote if you have any kind of interest or investment in Imperial Assault Skirmish, whether you're a casual player, if you only play at home, or if you're a hardcore tournament player. We do encourage everybody to complete the community vote. This is for the IA community, after all, not just for a certain group of the community. So I'm just going to get through all this because I want to get to the end of the survey where we have this final part is where you get to leave feedback on the IACP project. We want to know if this is making Imperial Assault fresh and fun for you. We want to know if there are too many or too few or an acceptable amount of changes in the season. And then really important is, I want to share this with you guys, is these next two sections. So this section is where you can share what type of methods do you think is acceptable for IACP to make to change the game. And we have a bunch of different options that I hope you read all of them and check them off if you think it's a good one. So, increasing, decreasing deployment card costs, modifying existing deployment cards. A lot of this is stuff we already do, but we like to see whether people think it's a good idea. So even if IACP is already doing it, if you think that it's acceptable, we want you to check the box. Stuff like skirmish maps, making new missions for existing maps, or making new maps, adding new factions, overruling FAQ rulings from FFG, down to organized play, like how we organized play. All of this is like possible changes. This is not stuff that we want to do necessarily, but it's stuff that we want to know what the community thinks, and if the community thinks we should be doing it, then we want to consider it seriously and how to best implement it. Then you get to share how you think IACP organized Season 6. I might actually move that up before that. And then this next part is also very important. this is where you share with us like more of like the strategical, like what traits you want to see added or improved, and what kind of different new cards you want to see added to IACP and Imperial Assault. So we have 4 options, which is priority for next season, content for a future season, avoid as season content, and then you can put no opinion. And this is where we have like, do you want us to make new cards for figures that have Legion minis, or figures that have WotC minis from the old WotC miniatures game, or that what about cards for figures that don't have an existing mini available? Like, I mean, we already did some of that, but we want to hear if people are interested in that or not interested in that. So this is where, if you don't want to see something added, or if something's been happening in the project and you like, I don't like that and I want you guys to stop doing that, this is where you can click this avoid a season content button, and we can be like, whoa, if a lot of people agree with you, then we can be like, maybe we need to dial that back because the community is sending us a message. This is how you guys can tell us what you want to see in the game, and ultimately the steering committee serves the community. So these are very important sections. There's a lot of options. Yes, definitely a lot of options. I hope that you guys take the time to read each one and just be like, okay, I don't want that, I do want that, because it helps us a lot. And then we have a blank open-ended answer of what stuff that, if you didn't see something up here, what do you want us to see added, and then once you finish it and go next, it is a final, so make sure you double check everything before you submit it. So now I just want to go into the how the voting system is going to work with the percentages and what gets approved and disapproved. So I'm going to back up here a little bit. Okay, so the ballot structure. So here's how it works in text, and then I will show you a graph of how it's going to work. So if 70% or more of a card's votes are to approve, and more votes or equal votes are fully approved than probationary approval, then it's going to be fully approved. If 70% are approved, but there's more probationary approval votes than there are fully approved votes, then it's going to be approved on probationary status. And then if more than 30% of a card's votes are to disapprove it, it will not be added to the project. So here is, I'm coming back to this graph here. So this pie graph shows what it would look like for each one. So for fully approved, you have to have 30% or less disapproval votes, which means that 70% of the votes were either fully approved or approved on probation. Then, if the fully approved votes are equal to or greater than the number of approved on probation votes, that card's going to get fully approved. Now, talking about probationary approval, if there is even one more probationary approval vote than fully approval vote, and again, there's 30% or less disapproval, then this card's going to go on probationary approval. And that means that the steering committee could change it in the future, and in the future seasons, that card will have to go on the community vote and get voted on again each season. Now, for a card to get disapproved, and I know this is a bit crude, but bear with me, I'm a bit busy today. Oh, that doesn't add up. There we go. For a card to get disapproved and removed, if it has 31% or more of votes or disapproval, that means there's less than 70% of combined approved or fully approved votes. That card's going to get disapproved, and it's going to get removed from the season and removed from the project. So it's not going to be usable in approved play. So during the 3-month tournament season following this 3-month playtest season, that card's not going to be there, and there's a good chance it might not come back for a while if we think people didn't like it, and if we can't figure out a good way to make it work, we might not bring it back. We might, if we really liked it and really want to see it come back, it might come back in a future season, or it might not. But that is what is going to cause a card to get disapproved. So I hope the visual chart helps a little bit with understanding how that whole system works. I know it's a little bit complicated, but I I think it's good, and this is kind of a trial run for this system. We're really interested in seeing how this affects people's votes now that there is basically a middle option. And I really encourage everyone, if you're watching this and you have an interest in Imperial Assault Skirmish in the medium or long term, and you want to make your voice heard about how you think the game should be going and how things should be handled, please take a few minutes. This takes about maybe 20 or 30 minutes of your time, because there's a lot of those options on the last section. But do please take the time and make your voice heard so that we can have as much of the community adding their voice to this as possible. So that's the community vote. I hope you guys go out and vote. I'll put a link to the vote in the video description, and then we'll feature this video on the article that goes up on the main page. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Bye.